Coachella is unlike any other festival in the world, and there's a reason for it. The $429 you're splashing out on tickets might seem like a high price to pay to watch the likes of Ariana Grande and Childish Gambino, but a huge chunk of that money goes straight back into the organization. Unlike Fyre Festival, the team behind Coachella know that they need to spend the dollars in order to ensure success. But just how many dollars are they devoting to funding Coachella? Before we surprise you with some of these additional costs, make sure to like this video, subscribe to The Richest, and join our notification squad. Now let's get into how much it costs to recreate Coachella. With Coachella tickets costing hundreds of dollars for general admission, it might seem hard to justify splurging on such an expense. And that's before we even mention things like the VIP passes that'll set you back almost $10,000. Many people will call these tickets overpriced and tell you all about the profits that Coachella makes each year. It had a box office revenue of $114.6 million according to Billboard in 2017. But although that figure might seem like a huge amount, it's worth pointing out that an awful lot of money goes straight back into the festival to make it the wonder that it is. Although we all know it's the music, artists, and atmosphere that make Coachella the festival that it is, it wouldn't exist without some pricey land to hold it on. There were 125,000 guests a day at Coachella in 2017, which means a huge amount of space is needed each year. In 2012, Coachella promoter Golden Voice purchased 280 acres surrounding the El Dorado Polo Club in Indio, California. The minimum price they would have paid for this patch, if they got a great deal, would have been in the region of $900,000. And that's without taking prime real estate costs and inflation into account. And then there's the cost of overheads, stage production, infrastructure, staff costs, and utility bills. Although Coachella has never released the cost of these overheads, we can look at the costs of Burning Man to get an idea. Back in 2015, the creators of Burning Man spent $9.5 million on their payroll and another $4 million on contractors. Then they paid $3.8 million on permits and fees, $2.9 million on heavy equipment rental, $2.1 million on payroll taxes and employee benefits, and over $2 million on building, supplies, and office expenses. And that's without taking into account things like grants to local artists, safety expenses, ticket servicing, and occupancy. All of these things cost around $1.5 million each on Coachella's scale. While most festivals outsource food and drink vendors to keep their hungry guests happy, it's another added cost to ensure that the festival ground has access to enough gas and electricity to keep everything running smoothly. Utility bills such as these can easily run into the millions of dollars mark when you've got hundreds of thousands of people to feed, and let's not forget the less glamorous stuff. For a 10,000 capacity festival, your power will cost you between $80,000 and $130,000. So magnify that upwards and you'll start to get an idea of how much the basics will set you back. You can also end up spending around $40,000 per 10,000 people to take all of the waste away that comes from people throwing bottles and leaving their garbage behind. Let's not even get started on the added costs that come from bad weather. Luckily, if you're basing your festival in California, there's a pretty safe bet that you'll have beautiful sunshine as the backdrop to your festival. But if Mother Nature happens to change her mind, you could be paying over the odds for cleaning up the damp and destruction left behind. In 2012 in the UK, a number of smaller festivals lost their profits entirely due to flooding and cancellations. But now let's move on to some of the fun parts of recreating Coachella, the incredible lineup that we see every single year. One of the festival's most famed headliners, Beyoncé, was rumored to have set organizers back around $3 million. According to Rolling Stone, some top headliners can cost anything up to $4 million to play on stage. It's pretty safe to assume that the likes of Lady Gaga, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar wouldn't settle for less than a few million to grace us with their presence. Cardi B was paid $70,000 per day to play at Coachella, but this price was arranged before she even blew up. The lowest rung on the Coachella ladder still took home $15,000 for their performance. But still, if you're paying for 3 headliners and a number of smaller artists, total costs could easily swell to $20 million. Then there's the hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars it costs to market and promote the festival in order to get people to turn up to the festival in the first place. Sure, these big names might draw in some traffic, but even Coachella relies on a bit of marketing to ensure survival and success. Once you've taken all of these costs into account, it's fair to say that hosting Coachella Festival and making it the success that it is today doesn't come cheap. In fact, once you've taken away all of the various costs that we've just discussed, Coachella Festival would cost around $63,808,571 to put on. And that's assuming that everything runs according to plan and nothing goes wrong whatsoever. So just to be on the safe side, we'll round up that total number to $65 million. Are you up for the challenge? And that's all for how much it costs to recreate Coachella. Was the total figure higher or lower than you were expecting? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.